Nasiruddin Humayun, the second Mughal emperor, ruled over a vast region that included Afghanistan, Pakistan, and northern India. Ascending the throne at 22, Humayun faced immediate obstacles. An ambitious half-brother, Kamran, claimed control of Kabul and Lahore, while a powerful Afghan leader, Sher Shah Suri, loomed in the east. Humayun lost his Indian territories to Sher Shah but managed to reclaim them a decade later with Persian support, marking a cultural shift as Persian art and traditions entered the Mughal court. Though compassionate and superstitious, Humayun's rule was plagued by family betrayal and constant challenges. Kamran and his younger brothers Hindal and Askari repeatedly undermined Humayun, exploiting his forgiving nature. Even after Humayun bravely captured the fortresses of Gujarat, he lost momentum, allowing Sher Shah to seize key Mughal territories, sack Bengal and capture immense wealth. At the Battle of Chausa, Sher Shah deceived Humayun with a false retreat, devastating the Mughal forces. Humayun barely escaped, forced to retreat to Agra, where he again forgave his treacherous brothers. With Agra in jeopardy, Humayun faced Sher Shah once more at the Battle of Kannauj, but suffered a disastrous defeat, ultimately abandoning Agra and fleeing to Lahore. Relentlessly pursued by Sher Shah, Humayun sought a truce, but Sher Shah dismissed his pleas, forcing him further west. Even as Kamran plotted against him, Humayun maintained his father's dying wish to do nothing against his brothers. Destitute and exiled, he withdrew to Sindh, where he found an unexpected ally in marriage to Hamida, a union that would eventually secure the birth of Akbar, who would one day fulfill the empire's destiny. In May 1542, Humayun received a request from the Raja of Jodhpur, Rao Maldeo Rathore, to form an alliance against Sher Shah. Seeing an opportunity, Humayun set out with his army to meet the Raja. However, as they crossed the desert, the Raja realized just how weak and diminished Humayun's forces had become. Meanwhile, Sher Shah had presented more favorable terms, and so Rao Maldeo changed his mind. He sent word that he no longer wished to meet with Humayun, despite the emperor being less than 80 kilometers from the city. With little choice, Humayun, his army, and his wife were forced to retrace their steps back through the unforgiving desert in the peak of summer. The nearby inhabitants had filled the wells with sand as retribution after Humayun's men had killed several cows, leaving the Mughal forces without water. The troops were reduced to surviving on berries. When Hamida's horse died, no one would lend her another horse. Humayun gave her his own horse and rode a camel for 6 kilometers before one of his commanders, Khalid Beg, offered his horse. Humayun later reflected on this moment as the lowest point in his life. He ordered Hindal to join their brothers in Kandahar. While Humayun struggled, the Emir of Sindh, Hussain, killed Rao Maldeo's father. This prompted the Raja to reconsider his position, and he decided to meet Humayun at Umarkot, a small desert oasis town. There, the Raja welcomed Humayun with full honors, offering fresh horses and weapons, and they forged a new alliance against Sindh. Umarkot became the Mughal base, and it was here on October 15, 1542, that Hamida, at the age of 15, gave birth to her first son, Akbar, the heir to 34-year-old Humayun. The war against Sindh soon reached a stalemate. To end the conflict, Hussain bribed Humayun to leave, offering him 300 camels and 2,000 loads of grain. Humayun accepted the offer and set off to join his brothers in Kandahar, crossing the Indus River on July 11, 1543. By then, tensions among the brothers had escalated. Kamran had placed Hindal under house arrest in Kabul for refusing to have the khutbah recited in his name. Kamran ordered their other brother, Askari, to raise an army and march against Humayun. Upon hearing of the approaching force, Humayun opted not to confront his brother directly. Instead, he sought refuge elsewhere. In the process, Humayun left his young son, Akbar, behind near Kandahar as the harsh December conditions made it impossible to take the 14-month-old on the perilous march through the snowy mountains of the Hindu Kush. When Askari's forces found Akbar in the camp, Askari embraced his nephew and entrusted his wife with the boy's care. She would raise Akbar as her own. In his desperate flight from Sher Shah Suri, Humayun sought refuge in the Safavid Empire of Persia. He marched through rugged terrain with only 40 men, his wife Hamida and her companion, surviving on horse meat boiled in helmets. After a month of hardship, the imperial party arrived in Herat, where they were welcomed with open arms. Shah Tahmasp of Prussia treated Humayun with royal honors, a stark contrast to the betrayal by his own brothers. Lavish food, clothing, and accommodations were provided, and Humayun was amazed by the Persian culture and art, particularly the miniature paintings of the Timurid legacy that echoed his own ancestral heritage. However, Humayun's return to power came at a cost. Shah Tahmasp, a Shia Muslim, suggested that Humayun convert from Sunni to Shia Islam in exchange for support. Reluctantly, Humayun agreed, which disappointed some of his followers, but it earned him a significant boost in resources. When Kamran offered to cede Kandahar to the Persians in exchange for Humayun's death, the Shah refused and instead hosted a grand feast in Humayun's honor, promising him an army of 12,000 cavalry to reclaim his lost territories. In return, Humayun agreed to hand over Kandahar to the Shah if successful. With Persian assistance, Humayun quickly besieged and took Kandahar from his brother Askari in a mere 2 weeks. As promised, he handed the city over to the Shah, though he soon reclaimed it when the Shah's infant son, Murad, who had been installed as the city's viceroy, passed away. Humayun's next target was Kabul, where his other brother Kamran ruled. Kamran's rule was detested, and as Humayun's forces, swelled by deserters from Kamran's army, neared Kabul, Kamran fled to build a new force. Humayun, now reunited with his son Akbar in November 1545, celebrated with a grand feast in his honor. While Humayun had the upper hand, his military indecision allowed Kamran to briefly retake Kabul and Kandahar. These setbacks forced Humayun into multiple campaigns, but his reputation for leniency, especially toward troops who had previously opposed him, helped him reclaim the cities. Tragedy struck when his youngest brother Hindal, once the most rebellious, died fighting for Humayun. Askari, another brother, was sent on a pilgrimage to Mecca, but died in the desert outside of Damascus. Kamran, however, proved the most unrelenting adversary. Despite repeated attempts to kill Humayun, Kamran was ultimately captured by loyalists, the Gakhars. Although Humayun was initially tempted to forgive Kamran, his advisors warned that continued leniency could spark rebellion. Instead, Humayun had Kamran blinded, ending his brother's claim to the throne. Kamran was then sent on Hajj but died near Mecca in 1557. With the deaths of both Sher Shah Suri in 1545 and his son Islam Shah in 1554, the Sur dynasty was left fragmented and vulnerable. The power vacuum in North India, with multiple factions fighting for control, presented the perfect opportunity for Humayun to reclaim his lost empire. This time, Humayun placed his army under the leadership of the brilliant strategist Bairam Khan, acknowledging his own limitations in military matters. Bahram Khan, one of history's greatest military tacticians, swiftly led the Mughal army back through Punjab. In an almost prophetic victory, the Grand Rohtas Fort, built by Sher Shah to suppress Mughal loyalists, fell without resistance. Its massive walls, some over 18 meters high and nearly 13 meters thick, and its imposing sandstone gates were no match for the strategic prowess of Bahram Khan. From there, Bahram Khan secured the critical battle of Sirhind. Using a feigned retreat to lure Sikandar Suri's forces into an ambush, the Mughals decimated the enemy. Towns along the way, sensing the return of Mughal power, welcomed the invaders. On July 23, 1555, Humayun once again ascended the throne of Delhi, reclaiming the capital his father Babur had once captured. With all his rival brothers dead, Humayun ruled North India with unmatched authority. His exiled years had taught him valuable lessons, and he now trusted his generals to command campaigns, a contrast to his earlier ill-fated military decisions. Bahram Khan's victories allowed Humayun to secure his reign and pursue further conquests both eastward and westward. Exile in Persia had also transformed Humayun's approach to governance. The reliance on astrology that once defined his leadership gave way to practical Persian-inspired methods of administration. He adopted the Persian model of revenue collection, a more sophisticated system than the one used by the Delhi Sultanate. Humayun's reign also saw a flourishing of Persian art, architecture, and culture in India. Persian miniature painting became influential in Mughal courts, eventually spreading to Rajput courts as well. Culturally, Humayun's Mughal court shifted away from the Chagatai language, which Babur had used for his memoirs, as Persian became the dominant language of the elite. Even Humayun himself favored speaking in Persian verse, a sign of the deep influence Persia had left on him during his time as a royal guest in exile. On February 22, 1556, Humayun met an untimely death. As he descended the staircase of his library, his arms laden with books, the Muezzin's call to prayer echoed through the air. In his usual reverence, Humayun bowed to the ground in response. However, as he knelt, his foot became entangled in his robe, causing him to stumble. He fell down the steps, striking his head on a stone. Despite efforts to save him, Humayun succumbed to his injuries 3 days later. His 13-year-old son, Akbar, ascended the throne, marking the beginning of one of the most celebrated reigns in Mughal history. Humayun was a passionate patron of the sciences, particularly astronomy and astrology, building observatories that stood for centuries. His legacy was further immortalized by his sister, Gulbadan Begum, who chronicled his life in the Humayunnama at the request of Akbar. His reign's greatest contribution was the integration of Persian art and administrative ideas into the Mughal Empire, a trend that continued to flourish under Akbar and later rulers. The painters he brought from Persia helped create the distinct Mughal painting style, a fusion of Persian techniques and Indian themes. Although his citadel in Delhi, Din Pana, was destroyed by Sher Shah, Humayun's tomb, built by his widow Hamida Banu Begum, became his lasting architectural legacy. Inspired by the Gure Amir, the tomb of his ancestor Timur in Samarkand, Humayun's tomb became the prototype for later Mughal architecture, including the Taj Mahal. With its iconic dome, elegant Iwan, and innovative use of local materials, it stands as one of the finest Mughal monuments in India and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. located in Nizamuddin East, New Delhi. Humayun's tomb is a masterpiece of Mughal architecture. The tomb was built on the site of the ancient Qilo Feri Fort, the former capital of Sultan Kekubat of the Slave dynasty. This complex, which includes several buildings and structures, represents the first example of Mughal architecture in India. It took 8 years to complete and was the first garden tomb in the region, constructed in the traditional Charbagh style, which divided the garden into 4 quadrants with water channels symbolizing paradise. The tomb's design significantly influenced later Mughal structures, most famously the Taj Mahal. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, please like, subscribe to Prospect Everything for more captivating stories, and share this video to help others discover our channel. See you next time.